Somebody like the Mixed Meter Quartet? Man, you can't see them. I can see their faces. They're like, it was really, 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 really good. You know, we play a lot of music at the station that I happen to be a part of. I don't think any of it sounds quite that good. Thank you so much. It's great. There's a song that says, "It's me again. I'm happy to be with you this morning. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Somebody share that with me together. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Last week, we talked about the concept of intention, focusing how intentional tithing transcends a mere financial transaction. And I want to thank those who were here last week and those who were online. I was mentioning to Adam Snyder this morning that I've had the privilege of talking here over the years, and no talk that I've given has garnered as much attention and feedback as the one we spoke about last week. I've had some meaningful conversations. People have talked to me, literally some folks who go to this church, about transformative things happening in their lives as a result of what we talked about last week. And it's difficult not to be moved when you hear positive words like that. And it makes me feel good that some of the seeds that we're planting here reach fertile ground. So thank you so much for that. In Unity, we understand, and this is what we talked about, that tithing with intention aligns our giving with our core values and affirmations and affirms our trust in the divine flow of abundance. This spiritual practice enriches our sense of prosperity and our sense of fulfillment, demonstrating the power of intentional action. We shared last week the importance of giving freely and joyfully, and I think that I mentioned that if you're not giving freely or joyfully, keep it in your pocket because it stops right there. The principle says that how we give is in direct proportion to what we receive. So the question is, what do you steadily expect? What do you ask Spirit for? Whatever that is shows up in our lives. We mentioned that Spirit resides in each one of us, ready to respond to our ask of it. We said that the Christ within you is always there, and you don't have to go searching for it. And when you make that decision to make that change because Spirit is always with us, Spirit has this tenacity and this ability to always say yes to whatever demands that we make upon it. I also challenged you to see that there is plenty of abundance in the universe, and I mentioned that the scripture says, "Prove me now herewith, says the Lord of hosts, that I will not give you so many blessings that you won't have room enough to receive them." And that's been borne out for me personally as Francine and I are moving to our new home. There is so much stuff in our house, as the scriptures say. There's no room to receive it in our smaller abode. So we are right-sizing now, and there is so much stuff in our home. We also said that because of our intentional tithing, Spirit is not a spirit of addition. Spirit is a spirit of multiplication, blessing all that we give, blessing all that we receive, and it blesses all that you're preparing to give. Today, we'll deepen our understanding by exploring intention in right action and showing how intention can guide our actions, create positive energy, and foster reconciliation. So there are three major areas of right action. The first, and we heard it in our daily word this morning, is forgiveness. The second is meditation and prayer. We open with prayer this morning. And number three is recognizing the divine presence in all of creation, all of creation. We'll look at first, which can be the most difficult of all, is right action. It's choosing to forgive someone who has wronged you. That can be tough when you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have been wronged by somebody. Now, be honest with me. Sometimes you want to get back at them because you know that you were right. Somebody say, yeah, that's right. Yeah. See, that's when all the fun starts. How dare that person treat me this way? Don't they know who I am? Don't they know that I go to Unity South Church? I'm a Unity student. They can't talk to me any kind of way. What's wrong with them? The scriptures say, forgive those who spitefully use you. There are so many examples of people trying to get back at folks who have wronged them. The media is even full of it. And it seems as if the heat will even get turned up higher as we get into this election season. There are like 8 or 9 seasons. We got construction season, we got election season, anyway. We see the slights, and people don't do us right in our workplace. We even see this stuff show up in our homes. Don't look at me, Francine. These days, it seems that if you can form the words to say something negative about somebody, then we will. It's even easier to say these wrongful or negative or hurtful things from the safety of your computer. There's a story of an organization where the employee and the employer did not see eye to eye. The employer even convened a meeting and asked each person in this group of 30 to go around the table and say something negative about this particular employee. All 39 people did, and no one came to this individual's defense. One by one by one, they all had something hurtful to say. With each successive person, the insults got even worse. They were emboldened by what the other person had said prior to them. And then there was only one person left. This employee who had been eviscerated to this point turned to the person and said, well, Tyler, everybody else has said something. Go for it. What do you have? Thinking that this would be the one person, her comments turned out to be the most hurtful. That was the last day they ever worked for that employer, as they vowed never to go back, being so embarrassed by their peers. Feeling humiliated, the employee said that they explored dozens of ways to get back at the people, especially the employer who convened that band of 30, and it led the verbal beating. And finally, the employee arrived at the perfect strategy. Does that sound like us? I know exactly how I'm going to get back at you. The next principle that we're talking about, intention and right action, is meditation and prayer. I'm taking a class en route to being a licensed Unity teacher called Jesus Heals. There's no class meeting. There's nothing on Zoom. We don't meet person to person. It's all online. And there's a lot of writing. There are 8 more weeks to go, and hopefully my pen will run out of ink before we get there, and I'll have a perfect excuse not to continue the class. However, Francine says we got a lot of pens, Gerald. You can do this. For the entire length of the class, we're looking at how Jesus healed, the different types of healing that took place, and then we have to share how we feel about it personally and transcribe all of this on paper. Each week throughout this class, listen to this, we are dissecting the Lord's Prayer line by line. The idea is to meditate on each line and then find the meaning in each sentence. I'm going into week 4. My thoughts said, this is going to be a long 8 weeks. After all, I'd been saying the Lord's Prayer like many of you, for years, all of my natural life. And if pressed, I can say the Lord's Prayer backwards. I can sing it, and I even know 3 different ways, and now a 4th way to say the Lord's Prayer. What are we doing here? I sent that email to the instructor, and she has yet to get back with me. Recognizing the presence in all of creation is our next piece of this. And as a child, I remember my mother telling me that God, Gerald, made everything. You know, I'm 8 or 9 years old. God made everything. All that's on the earth was created by Spirit. And with my young, single-digit age self, I set out to find the things that God possibly could not have made. So I'm going through my house. We had the front room with all the plastic on the furniture nobody sat in. We had the dining room, and I'm down on the floor, and this is a massive, dark wood dining room table. And I said, God couldn't possibly have made this. There's no way. It's too big. Next to the refrigerator, that was the biggest thing in our house. God could not have possibly made the fridge because they didn't even have any in Jerusalem. How could he have made the fridge? That was serious. So those 3 aspects of intention and right action, number 1, are seeing it right or seeing Spirit in all of creation, prayer and meditation, and reconciliation and forgiveness. Time passed. However, every time someone asked the employee about where they had worked in the past, the story of that round table of humiliation would always come up in the conversation, detailing how wrong that entire situation is. Elizabeth Sands Turner talks about forgiveness in her book entitled Your Hope of Glory. You can find it in the Lending Library out here. And here's what she says about forgiveness, and I'm quoting, "Forgiveness really means giving up of something." Make sense? When you forgive yourself, you stop doing the things that you shouldn't be doing. It's that simple. So I think Jesus was correct in assuming that we have the power to forgive sin. And there's that word, sin. When you really think about it, sin is simply this: falling short of the divine law of intention and right action. We are intended to embody and reflect God's attributes such as love, such as justice, such as mercy, and holiness. We are supposed to care for the world. Also, this calls for treating others with respect, treating each other with compassion, and treating each other with love. Forgiveness, then, is the means that we have to stop this sinning. And so let me define sin. It's an acronym, actually, for self-inflicted nonsense. So in other words, we have to stop the doggone nonsense and come into harmony with divine law. Somebody say, you got something right now. We forgive the nonsense. We forgive the falling short in ourselves every time that we resolve to think and act accordingly to divine law. This employee that we're talking about this morning finally came to their senses. For years, they had been taking on that victim role and held on to the event that had taken place for so long, being really self-righteous. They wronged me, all those 30 people. What's wrong with them? And then they came across a passage in the Daily Word that says, in effect, that to forgive is important to forgive yourself first. Initially, this type of right action didn't make any sense, but this employee was willing to try it on to see what it felt like. As a matter of fact, Reverend Stacy taught a class here. One of the statements was, nevertheless, I'm willing. So this employee, nevertheless, of what they thought about, was willing to try on this idea of forgiving themselves first. In the process of forgiving themselves, something happened. They reported a lightness that they had never felt before. The animosity carried in their heart for years floated away like a bird floating in the air. And for the first time, they reported feeling free. Then in their heart, they offered forgiveness for the employer and all those others who had verbally harmed them. The employee said they were suddenly healed and freed from that mental prison. What are you holding on to this morning? Try to get in alignment with right action. And we start by forgiving ourselves first. I'm an old dude. I've been a Unity student since the mid-'80s. And over time, I've come to realize that Spirit really did make that hardwood dining room table in my grandmother's house. I remember reading that that Jesus was a son of a carpenter, and he himself had those skills of carpentry. It was if I had been reading this scripture for the very first time. And all of us, whether we realize it or not, have that spark of divinity living in us right now. The Christ of our being is right here. And I reasoned that carpenter who carved that table, that dining room table in our house, the engineer who builds the rockets and sends them into space, the scientists and the doctors who can find cures for all diseases, the fact that you're not wearing masks here this morning tells me that we all have the Spirit living in each one of us. Spirit's work is done through us. In fact, every living thing is imbued with the Spirit of God. So yes, little Gerald, God did make that dining room table and the big old refrigerator too. We're talking about intention and right action and being in alignment with Spirit. As I continue studying in my class and taking the Lord's Prayer line by line and meditating on it for a week, an interesting thing is starting to happen. Here's one example. The line is, "Hallowed be thy name." Somebody say that with me. Hallowed be thy name. We're meditating on that line for a week. I heard, not with my ears, but I heard down in here, not hallowed be my name, but how great is the name of God. Hallowed means to hold as sacred, hold as holy, hold as venerated. Think about that line this way. How sacred is the name of God? How holy is the name of God? There's another definition of hallowed, and it's spelled a little differently. It means to hollow out, like a carpenter carving a piece of wood, and they made that smooth little curve in the wood. So we can expand on this thought that says, I hold a special place in my heart to honor the sacredness of the Spirit within me. Can you take that with you this week? I hold that special place in my heart to hold the Spirit in me. That's just line 3 of the Lord's Prayer. An understanding or a reasoning that I've come to that I could only get to by meditation and prayer. Nobody told me this. It reminds me of the scriptures when Jesus was asking his followers, he'd been throughout the countryside, and he says, he didn't say who folks, he says, who do people say that I am? I'm sorry. One disciple said, you are the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, in my words, cool, that's right. He went on to say, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah. He said his whole name. It's like saying, blessed are you, Gerald Wayne Evans. For flesh and blood has not revealed that to you, but through my Father which is in heaven. Jesus never told him that. I share it with you, hallowed be thy name. Nobody told me what I came to understand. This is but one result when we are intentional with our prayer and with our meditation. There's a song that we sing here at Unity. It says, reveal to me that which needs to be revealed. Oh, you know the song. Heal in me that which needs to be healed so that I can what? Glorify God. Oh, I think you're with me now. So how is your intention and right action this morning? I invite you to become even more intentional this week by forgiving yourself first, and then seeing Spirit in everything. Even this podium, Spirit is right here. And engage in regular prayer and meditation, which is your direct pipeline, Yvette, to the Spirit that lives in each one of us. Next week, we'll wrap up our series of the power of intention and explore how living with intention aligns with our highest purpose and enhances our personal and spiritual growth. We'll also delve into the concept and discuss practical ways that we can embody our intentions in every aspect of our lives. How many of you would like to be more intentional in every aspect of your life? Let's close today with a short meditation. Find a comfortable position if you're not already there. If you like, you can close your eyes and take a deep breath. And as you exhale, release any tension or distractions. Focus on your heart center and bring to mind a core value that resonates deeply with you. It could be love, compassion. Maybe it's honesty or any other value that feels true to your spirit, embodying the divine qualities within you. Maybe not right now, but set a clear intention that aligns with this value. See yourself living this intention fully, seeing the positive impact that it has on your life and the lives of others around you, affirming your connection with divine wisdom. As you hold this vision, affirm silently, I live with intention, guided by my highest values. I am aligned with my divine purpose, creating a life of harmony and fulfillment. If you feel so inclined, take another deep breath and consider the power of intention and right action. As you're ready, open your eyes. Feel the power in this room. I hope you come back next week. We're going to have a lot of fun, I promise you. If you don't, it's Adam Schneider's fault. He brought this on. And may your intentions guide you. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. Guide you, empower you with abundant blessings, and know that everything works out well. And so it is.